What's going on, guys? It is Bromley, and we are here answering more questions. Today's topic is whether or not I think PEDs, performance enhancing drugs, should be illegal in sports. Why would you even humor that? PEDs are dangerous. It's cheating. Of course they shouldn't be allowed in sports. Why is this even a question? So, starting off, let's just say what's wrong with steroids. You'll abuse it and you're bound to have a heart attack or a stroke or some problem down the road. Steroids are not this destructive force that a lot of people have made them out to be. Now, of course, like anything, abuse and overuse, reckless use can be a problem. Now, here's the thing. We don't ban something just because some a-hole that goes and abuses it tries to ruin it for the rest of us. Sex, for instance. We love sex. Sex is great. Sometimes it's great. It's vital. But if sex comes into the picture too early in your stages of development, or if it's something that you engage in very recklessly and without any thought of consequence, you're going to have a bad time. That doesn't mean that we blacklist sex. I mean, some cultures have tried to, but what it should mean is that we try to come up with better ways to incorporate it into our way of living. Bottom line is, steroids actually have a lot of value. Now, I don't want this to be my PSA about how I think steroids are great. I think there's something that is a tool that can absolutely do what it's supposed to do if you're smart and responsible about it, but can also be very dangerous if you're an idiot about it. But that describes so many things. As an adult in a supposedly free society, I really, because some idiots will ruin it for the rest of us. It treats us like infants. There is no sport that can remove it entirely. So what they do is they find this middle ground where they throw out these sacrificial lambs every couple of years, and that kind of caps, that puts a ceiling, it's kind of a suppressive force on how much people can actually do. So now the thing about cheating is doing something that's against the rules, but the spirit of cheating is doing something that's against the rules that other people aren't doing to get an unfair advantage. So that brings into the question of, if everybody's doing it, is it really cheating? And I say no. That's just from being a realistic person. You have to meet reality on reality's terms. If that's the case, where we're going to treat basically the entire athletic constituency as cheaters, that means that you're willing to abolish the sport completely just to uphold this imaginary perfect standard. You're letting perfect be the enemy of good. If everybody does something, that means you're not getting an unfair advantage. You're actually getting an unfair disadvantage by not doing it. So I understand how that culture can kind of run itself out of control, but everybody's doing it. That means that doing it makes you part of a more level playing field. Aside from that, there's also the genetic factors. If we remove the ability of the individual to utilize technology to get better, that means that the person who wins is going to be the most genetically gifted. Okay, if we take away all of the environmental and circumstantial stuff you can actually affect, you're left with the stuff you can affect, which is your genetics. And I have a much bigger problem with that. I don't know why being natural is better when being natural is just defaulting to whoever won the genetic lottery. Given the fact that I think steroids can actually level the playing field a bit, it's a means of technology that can get a desired result. It's a tool to be used. The health risks are largely overblown. And given how all of the other positives exist that PEDs bring with them, as far as potential longevity, increased recovery ability. I mean, you can grow tissue faster when you're engaging in sports that are inherently degenerative. I think that's massive. There's a lot of good things you can do with it. So I lean towards the thought that yes, it should be allowed. In fact, it should be encouraged to a certain degree, because responsible use, and again, I'm not willing to have the conversation like it's all or nothing. There have been a lot of people that have died in strongman from something similar. We see it in bodybuilding. A lot of pros die in bodybuilding. This is something that not a lot of people know, but bodybuilders are also known for taking notoriously high amounts of gear. So how do we put a cap on it if we're going to let people use this? The thing I heard that makes the most sense is letting people use the gear, but test for health, not for the drugs. For health, you can't fake those tests. You can't fake your cholesterol. You can't fake your red blood cell count, your packed cell volume. You can't fake all of these markers that are signals for whether or not you're about to have a heart attack or a stroke if you push it too far. So in that way, you'll not only prevent people from taking so much gear that their health just goes off the rails, but you will actually make athletes take interest in their health aside from drug use, so that you might actually be saving other lives if you have really rigid standards. All athletic organizations take the health of their athletes as their responsibility. We've seen it with what CTE with head injuries, traumatic head injuries, and something like the NFL. We've seen it with a lot of sports where the organization fighting, MMA, it's the same thing. But if any one of these markers gets out of control, that's on you and you won't be able to perform. And, put the incentive on the athlete to use, but also put the incentive on them to make sure that their health is straightened out. Because we don't want a sport like bodybuilding. We don't want a sport where so many people die at such a high number that people just accept that that's what you have to do to get good. That, in my mind, is a stretch too far, but I think we can absolutely utilize technology intelligently and not get into this panic mode where we engage in these false dichotomies where things either have to be all or nothing, because again, that's not how life works. So that is my rant on PEDs. I'm also not a blind proponent of it. Again, it's never all or nothing. I'm not just like, they're great, everybody should do them. They are absolutely something that are not for everybody. And most of the people on them have no business being on them. And they're actually worse off for being on them. So that's an entirely different topic. So thanks for watching, guys. Till next time, this is Bromley. I'll see you.